Welcome to Beyond the Game, where mental wellness competes. I'm your host, Phillip Reynolds, licensed clinical social worker, LCSW. I spent over 2 decades working in mental and behavioral health, sitting with families, athletes, and young people in some of the hardest moments of their lives. Over time, one pattern became impossible to ignore. The athletes who looked the strongest on the outside were often carrying the heaviest pressure on the inside. I kept meeting high performers who knew how to train their bodies, knew how to push through pain, knew how to fight for a starting spot or a scholarship, but no one had ever taught them how to process loss, identity shifts, injury, burnout, or the silence that comes when their playing careers end. That gap is what led me to create Copious Life Sports Initiative, or CLSI. Our mission is to close what we call the resilience gap. That is the space between pushing through and breaking down, where too many athletes get stranded. This podcast exists because the conversation around athlete mental health needs more than headlines. It needs stories, real stories from athletes who lived it, coaches who saw it, parents who felt it, journalists who covered it, professionals working to change the system. Because athletes are not just performers, they're people. Here, we talk about the pressure behind the performance, the identity behind the jersey, the silence behind the success. My hope is that every episode helps athletes feel less alone, helps families feel more equipped, helps coaches and leaders rethink what it really means to support the whole athlete. This is Beyond the Game, and I'm really glad you're here. Happy to have Travis Garrison as our guest today. Former McDonald's All-American, played basketball at the University of Maryland before embarking on a 13-year professional basketball career. Inspired by his journey both on and off the court and his upbringing with a single mother working 3 jobs, Garrison authored 3 books, including one that laid the foundation for his nonprofit, Think First Global. Founded in 2021, Think First Global uses basketball to teach youth critical life skills, including mental health awareness, emotional resilience, STEM learning, and basketball fundamentals. The organization has partnered with groups like NBA Math Hoops, the Washington Wizards, Food for Thought, and the DC Dream Center, impacting over 1,000 students across the DMV area. Happy to have you with us today, Travis.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, as you know, we talked about the fact that we want to be able to have the athletes get on and tell their story, right? So that other athletes can see that story. And so I think your story is a unique one. They're all different, right?
Yes.
So let's hop in. Let's zoom back in time to those high school days, and let's start at the beginning of high school, right? That transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, and then getting your basketball career up and running to the point where you became an All-American, McDonald's All-American. So let's start back in high school. What was that time like for you? Talk to me a little bit about that experience.
It was interesting. You know, I was the 2nd ranked 8th grader in the country. It was time for me to choose a high school to go to. Honestly, I was going to go to my neighborhood high school. I was going to go to Suna High School. I was happy with that. I was going to go there with my friends. But my mom wanted me out of the neighborhood. So we looked at a number of different high schools. Went to go visit DeMatha Catholic High School. I wasn't familiar with DeMatha Catholic High School during that time, but went to go visit them. My mom fell in love with Coach Morgan Wooten, not even just off the basketball, but just off the educational, what he was talking about in regards to scholarships, going to college, getting an education, and how he really preached that. So when we left that meeting, she was like, this is where you're going. So, you know, like I said, going to DeMatha, I didn't know what I was walking into. You know, I'm thinking I'm the hot stuff. I'm number 2 8th grader in the country walking in. I was still like top 10 in the 9th grade. But you go there, man, and athletics is huge at DeMatha. So I'm walking down the hallway. I see a 6'10" guy. I see a 6'11" guy. I see a 7'2" guy. He said, that's the guy right there is the number 2 player in the country as a senior. That guy right there is the number 10 junior in the country. So what I walked in on, it was nothing. I was nobody in a sense.
Right.
I was
go ahead and tuck this break in
I was like, exactly. Then when it came to open gym, you know, just to see the talent that was out there, because before I got there, they were the number 1, number 2 team in the country. So it was something totally different when I walked in on, and it was really an eye opener for me. I wasn't I was still kind of raw in regards to my talent. Like I said, I thought I had it all, but going there showed me that I didn't. And not just on the basketball side of things, but you got the educational side of things too, because it's a very competitive educational school as well. So coming from the middle school that I was at, I wasn't big into school. I wasn't taking care of my schoolwork. I wasn't like really into the books. So going there and the school and education was just so much higher. It took me a while to adjust. So my freshman year, I was ineligible the first half of a few games into my freshman year when I was playing JV. And that was an eye opener for me. I said, I can't play basketball. They're like, yeah, if you don't take care of your books, you're not going to play. And that was another thing that kind of like opened my eyes up into it goes hand in hand. Basketball and education goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. And that's what I try to educate kids on. But halfway through my JV year, I was starting to really get a handle on things in regards to skill level, developing, and just getting more confidence. I remember, I think going into my sophomore year, I ended up getting a letter from college. It was, I think, my first college letter, because the big thing was you walk into Coach Wooden's office or you walk into the basketball office, there's all the letters that's right there on the table and everybody has their name on them. And I remember walking in one day and I got a letter from LaSalle. And I remember like yesterday, cause I wrote number 1 on it. I still have it in my mom's attic. And I was like, man, I'm committing here. I'm going to quit. So I was like, how do I commit to this school right now? I was just so excited just to get a letter. But it was, like I said, just going to the math, it was all an adjustment for me, basketball wise. Going into my sophomore year, I remember we went over to, I played in Paris in France with, Ben Gordon, Billy Edelin, those guys. We played in the Junior Olympics over there against other teams in the country. And like I said, my skills just continued to develop and grow. But every summer when I was in high school, I was in summer school. I was getting invited to all these, the USA, tryouts in Colorado, to the Nike Adidas camps. And I couldn't go to none of them because I wouldn't take care of my books. So a lot of the coaches, a lot of the scouts, they hear about me and, how talented I was, but they never really got to see me on the circuit in the summertime because Coach Wooden was like, yeah, you're in summer school. Like, it's nothing else matters. Like, he never allowed me to go to anything. And that's one of the things I preach to the kids now, and is how many opportunities I missed out on. I didn't get a chance to play on the U.S. Olympic team in high school because I was in summer school every summer. And I remember particularly going from my junior to my senior year, I finally got an opportunity to go to camp. The first camp I went to was Adidas camp. And I knew in my mind, like I still was highly ranked. We won the championships my junior year. So, everything was going well. I was getting highly recruited, but I wanted to make a point and show people outside of the DMV area how good I was. And they hear things. They say, well, we never get to see him play. And I used the Adidas camp as my liftoff in a sense to show people like I am as good as you probably heard I was. And I remember going there because me and Carmelo Anthony, we were on the same team. So that's that year that they were talking about him and Lenny Cook. So that's when that all took place, because Melo, my sophomore year, we were like number 1, number 2 players in the country, in the area. And going to our junior year, you heard him go from being like 6'2" to like 8, and all you hearing is Carmelo Anthony. So, and then he just raged from top 100 to like top 10, top 5 within the summertime. Right. But that particular camp, I remember going in, our first game was against Lenny Cook. And, man, when I say like everybody was eyes on that court because they was trying to see who was better between Lenny Cook and Carmelo Anthony. And Melo, man, just put on a show and just kind of proved to everybody of why he is that good and why is he better. And that was the same camp LeBron became LeBron in regards to, came in with a bush, and by the time he left there, he had the low haircut, and then everything changed for him after that as well. But I tell people that story all the time. I played really well, and I got an opportunity to make the All-Star game. But I already missed so many days of summer school that I called Coach Wooden, told him the good news, made the All-Star team. Can I stay one more day? And he was like, no, you got to come back now. And I was like, man, I remember talking to Sonny Vaccaro. I was like, can you at least put my name on the list that I made it? No. Right. And he didn't do it, but I still got the articles and saying how well I did there. But that was just another example of me not taking care of my schoolwork and the opportunities I was missing out on. But I went there, I proved the point. And, my senior year, we won every tournament we played in. We won the, city title. We won the conference championship. I played in the first Jordan Classic, the first one, and I played in the McDonald's All-American game. And then ended up, getting recruited and going to the University of Maryland. like I said, my high school career was just, like I said, it was mixed up with a whole bunch of things learning. Like I said, I didn't know anything about college basketball before I went to the University of Maryland getting recruited. So I had to learn. It was a fast course learning for me for everything in regards to just learning about college basketball and all that entailed.
Yeah. Man, what was that like for you? Because you had a couple of them, and we would call them resilience gap moments. Like I wasn't trained for this. I wasn't prepared, right? I could either push through or break down. And them grades hit, right? You talk about going from public school to private school. When them grades hit, it was like, okay, I got bad grades. Let's go play ball. And they're like, nah. Well, for you, you gotta sit still. What was that like for you, man?
Man, because like me and you briefly talked about this when we were on the phone was I grew up, I didn't know anything about basketball or sports. I did it because my brothers did it. Around 10 or 11, I fell in love with the game of basketball, meaning like I could be sitting down and I'm burning up. I'm itchy. I got to touch a basketball. I got to go shoot. And that's kind of been my life. I always wanted to be around basketball. I always wanted to play. So when I became ineligible, and I see guys in the gym, they're practicing, they're playing. I was sick, man. I was mad because I felt like I had to prove something, that I was missing out on the opportunity. And it really bothered me. And it made me kind of like, okay, I got to at least do what I got to do to like get on this court. That's kind of when I tightened up. And then it also let me know how serious Coach Wooten was in regards to education. And they really bigged up on that. And I just had to step it up. But it bothered me a lot, man, because like I said, how much I love the game of basketball, and I couldn't do anything. I couldn't play. So.
Yeah. And so you were doing summer school to make up ground. So it sounds like high school continued to kind of be somewhat of a struggle academically to get on track and get your footing.
Yeah, it is funny, man. And looking back in hindsight, because a lot of things I learned in high school, I'm thinking I'm never going to use until you fast forward. When I took Spanish class twice in high school, didn't take it serious. Yeah. And then one of the first countries I didn't go playing with overseas is in Spain. And it's a majority. So it goes like, man, I'm like, man, I remember being over there and the majority of people, everybody's pretty much speaking Spanish and they really spoke a little bit of English, and I'm trying to survive. And my teammates like, yo, you got to figure it out. And I'm like, man, if I'd have took Spanish class serious, man, hola, ¿cómo estás? Gracias. Like the littlest thing.
Great.
Man, hey, man, look, man, when I talk to kids, I show them like, no, you may have that, but you may need this stuff. So take it serious. And like I said, just look at how many opportunities I missed out on just because I wouldn't take care of my books. Like I couldn't play
All-Star game. That would have been a classic. That would have been an all-time.
They still talk about that game because that's when LeBron and Sebastian Telfair, that was their junior year, and that's when Lenny could. They still talk about that game, and I could have played it, and I couldn't play, man, because Coach Wooten said because I already missed 2 days, I couldn't miss 3. I missed 3, I failed. He said you got to come home. I was sick, man. I was so sick, man.
Yeah, how you think it would have gone if you got some bump in that game? You think you would have held your own?
Hey, no. Cause I'm gonna be dead honest, and people that were there would say I was like on a mission to like prove a point. Like that my whole point going there was I was already highly recruited. A lot of things were already allowed, but they never got to see me play against the best of the best. And that was my opportunity to do that. And I would have went off for sure. With everybody watching, that was my whole thing. And I wanted to put on a show. But yeah, man, it still bothers me to this day, man. Not as much as it did a number of years ago, but it still hurts a little bit.
Right. And so I mean, not really being a basketball player, then getting into it. And I'm sure that hype punched tickets for you because you spread out and got tall and everything else. And you're looking forward to this opportunity. You got this stage. I made it all the way to the All-Star game. I gotta go back to school.
Gotta go back to school. Man, it was a sickening. It really bothered me because, I mean, you playing against the best of the best players. You got the college coaches there. You got NBA scouts there. You got GMs there. On my team, Ernie Grunfield's son was on my team, and Ernie Grunfield and George Carr's son was on my team. So they was at every game. So I was like, I know they're watching. So that was my shot to kind of show them, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So things like that, man. It's just like life, man. You make choices and you got to deal with it, and you got to deal with the consequences. That's just the reaction to the action that you caused.
Yeah. So what would you tell the high school kids nowadays that say, hey, I want to go to college, right? I want to go to D1. I want to make it to the league, but these grades don't really matter. These grades aren't really important. What would you say?
It definitely does matter because my coach talked about this all the time, and I hear college coaches. I have friends as coaches in college, and they would rather take a kid that's okay over a kid that's okay, that's taking care of schoolwork, discipline, on time and everything, opposed to a guy that's highly skilled. Because the kid that's probably not as good, but taking care of schoolwork, you ain't got to worry about them being ineligible or getting any type of trouble. The kid that's skilled, he may come. I may get him to come. Then they got NIL, may give him some money, but he may be ineligible. You know what I mean? So that's the things you have to think about. So it does matter. And they look at those things. Character, how are you as a person? How are you coachable? What kind of kid are you? All those things matter, especially nowadays.
Right. Yeah, no, I think it's looked at as, these grades and the way this thing I got to do, but your academics are teamwork. Right? Your team is
Absolutely.
counting on you. Your team wants you on the court. If you end up ineligible and we sitting here looking at a county title or something like that, you're not going to be available to your team at the college level and everything else. It's so academics are both teamwork and dream work. If you want to get where you're going, then academics open up more scholarship opportunities for you. More coaches can take a look at you because you got that 3.8 versus the 2.8. And so it's just really understanding like that those academics are a key, and a lot of kids' dreams have been crushed because of academics because they don't have the grade.
You see a lot of guys you probably see guys or probably play playground basketball, or you just seem like, man, they really good. Why they didn't make it? They probably didn't take care of schoolwork. They probably didn't get that scholarship. They probably was good enough to make it, but they was, what they did, top 40, prep 48, where they had to go to JUCO or something like that, which ain't bad because a lot of guys made it out of there, but they missed out on opportunity because they didn't take care of their schoolwork. And yeah, man, so I just tell kids like now, man, like, just think. Don't let all that hard work you put in, all that time, all those sacrifices go to waste because of poor choices, meaning like not taking care of your schoolwork. Just take care of your schoolwork. Buckle down. You know what I mean? Lock in. It all ties in together. You can't have one without the other. You can't, so if you really want to make it and you really want to get there, you got to do all the intangibles, sacrifices, dedication, don't just think about yourself, thinking about everybody that's included in that in regards to your teammates, your coach, your family, your parents, all the people that are invested in you. I would tell them to look at the bigger picture. Don't be selfish.
Yeah. So when you had those hard moments, man, the All-Star game didn't get there and the academics challenges didn't get there. Like, what did you do? Who'd you talk to? How'd you handle that? Like that moment where like, dang, bro, like this is real. Like, were you able to talk to anybody? What did you do with those feelings that you had inside it?
Now you're talking about like 20 plus years ago, and this is before therapy. Like I didn't grow up with a household that has talked about therapy. My dad was a pastor. My mom was heavy in the church. That's all we had. Pray to God, talk to God, but in regards to like, and like I said, I grew up, I wasn't like a open speaker in regards to like go talk to people, share my feelings, or I'm feeling this way or shit. I didn't have any of those things. I mean, I would have my brothers always on me. Like my older brother, he was like super smart. Like he's book smart. Like he was valedictorian. Like he was, SJ president, all those things. So he always was like, man, like you're trying to get here. You're trying to do X, Y, and Z. You got to take care of your books. And everybody, I would always have like my brothers on me. Like, man, you got to take care of your books. I had a mentor in high school. He was super smart, but he was also a two-way All-American in regards to football and basketball. And he was big on school. He was like, man, like you messing around, and you're going to end up missing out on school, because what I didn't tell you was how many times I took the SATs in order to go to school. Even when it came to qualifying for school, back then you had to have I want to say a 980 on the SAT and a 2.5 cumulative grade point average. So I took all the SAT prep classes and everything. So I was taking the SATs. The first time I took it, I was short. Second time I took it, I was short. I think I ended up taking it like 4 times, and there's only one more time I could take it before I had to probably go to another, like the extended high school in this sense. And I remember, Maryland, I already committed at the time. They was like calling me, make sure you take care of what you got to take care of. But I ended up taking it the last time, and it was the next day I had my prom, and I had SATs that next morning. So I couldn't even really enjoy my prom because that was the last time I could take the SATs. And like, if I didn't pass, if I didn't do good on this one, I wouldn't have went to Maryland. I wouldn't have went to college.
Right.
So I had to do well.
Wow.
So I got what I needed. But one of the classes I was taking in my senior year, I think it was psychology, I didn't do well on. I had to get like a C in that class. So I had to take that class actually over again that summer. So I had to take, so in order for me to actually get my diploma, like to actually like officially graduate, I had to go through that, man. So that was talking about heart racing, trying to get somebody a heart attack. You know, man, you talking about like your college career is on the line right here and you have one chance to pass it now. And then it all worked out. But man, don't put yourself in those situations though. Like, man, like the stress.
When you picked up your prom day, her dad was like, have her home by 11. She gonna be home by 6:30.
Man, look here, man. My mother was like, man, you gonna cook, you going, they was like, you going to party? And I said, man, I got SATs in the morning, man. Like I had to,
Right.
we went to our little prom with the dinner, you know, said everybody's going to party. And I'm like, man, I can't do nothing, man. Dropped her home, went home, got some sleep and woke up the next morning, man. I'm taking SATs. So, you know, but during that time, I didn't have anybody I can really like express. I didn't know what I was going through, if I was going through anything, you know, it wasn't too bad because I was really locked in on basketball. More so, yeah, I had my downfalls in regards to school, but, you know, I had some help in regards to tutors and people that was helping me in regards to just mentoring me and things like that. So that was kind of helpful during that time in my life. It was just that because I didn't do too much with basketball, school, and home during that time.
Yeah. So let's talk about that transition, right? You transitioned to University of Maryland. And again, you know, every kid that touched the court with you at University of Maryland was probably that dude back in high school. So you have another transition where you got dudes that are out there on the court. So talk to me about your time at University of Maryland. What was that like when you walked on campus? And again, you're learning a whole new environment. This ain't the math no more. This is college and you expected to get things done on your own. So what was that like, man?
Man, that transition right there. It's funny because a lot of times my basketball life is I kind of separated. I don't really think on it unless people ask me questions about it and then I have to reflect. That transition going from DeMatha to Maryland, I tell you what, I think my last day of school at DeMatha and then the earliest I can move in on campus, you know, we go to summer school. My mom said she came home and all my stuff was already gone out the room. I was already on campus. I was so excited to go, but it felt good to kind of like be on my own. But to your point, they just won a national championship. There was a lot of expectations in regards to, you know, me being the DeMatha guy, you know, McDonald's All-American. They just won a national championship. We got a really good recruiting class coming in and they was looking to me to lead that, you know, to really help them get back to that place. And when I was on campus, I was just excited just to be on my own, like kind of like be on my own, being an adult. Like I see all these stories, I hear all these stories about college kids and it was just, you know, playing summer ball with the guys, seeing that talent level, seeing how serious, you know, the Steve Blakes, the Drew Nicholas, all those guys that just won a national championship, how serious they took it. And I remember we came in, I think one of our first days of playing open gym and we were kind of like strolled in maybe like right at the time we start or probably like a few minutes before. And I remember them just yelling up, they're like, man, what are y'all doing? Like, they was like, man, they was going after us because that's how serious they took it. We were late and we were freshmen. So they like, who do you guys think y'all are? You know, so that's kind of like the eye opener for me in regards to they weren't messing around. It was all about serious, like the season starts now. You know, you guys can't just be strolling in thinking y'all all that. Y'all haven't done anything yet. So that was like my eye opening moment for me, but not even just the basketball side of things. I think what people don't see or understand is what comes with it when you're the student athlete or when you're a McDonald's All-American or when people are depending on you or had these high expectations. Like I said, I remember some guys, you know, from my neighborhood, older guys that took me out to the clubs in DC. That's when DC was like crazy back in the early 2000s. And I didn't know anything about that life because I never lived there. I was in high school. I never really went out. I never went out in DC and anything like that. So I remember going out one time. Man, look here, man. First of all, I always wanted to be humble in the sense of I don't think I'm better than anybody. You know what I mean? I play basketball. That's just something I do, but I don't think that I'm higher or bigger than anybody. So I moved like that, meaning like I thought I was like everybody else, you know? So when I was going to the club and they was letting the guys in, and then when it came to me, there was like two guys. There was a security guy and there was another guy there. I know who he is now, but he was like, oh yeah, he can't come in. And I'm like, me? Like, what I do? Like, oh, he can't, we know who he is and we know how old he is. He can't come in. And so, you know, my boys talked to him, whatever. But yeah, that was like my eye opener. Like, how do they know who I am? This is before social media, but I was in the papers all the time. So I was on the news all the time, but still, I didn't think anybody like really knew me like that. I know what I know now that a lot of people knew me at that time. That was another eye opener for me that when you have that type of success in basketball, you have a lot of people trying to feed off of you in the sense of they want to go out with you when you go out because you have access to things, or you may have the girls, or you have all these access to these clubs and the VIP area and all these things, and they want that too. So they may use you for that. But for me, I didn't care. I was like, we all going out there, let's have a good time. But like I said, it's like, be careful what kind of box you open up when you're on your way to your goal. In the sense of, some people can handle certain lifestyles, you know what I mean? Cause they can just do that. That's just them. And certain people cannot. I was one of those guys I tell people all the time that my college career was a blur for me. Like, my mom recorded every game we had. I haven't watched now one. I watched the ACC tournament when we won it. That's the only weekend I won, cause that's the closest I felt to me as me, Travis, as I ever felt when I was in college. I think everything else was like, I was like a shell. You know what I mean? So it's hard for me to watch my games now because I was going through so much at that time that I didn't realize it. It's hard for me to watch. It's hard for me to watch, man, because it's like, man, that's not even me. You know what I mean? So, but I think that all comes from me trying to live a lifestyle that I wasn't used to or that wasn't fit for me. I tell people all the time, it was a whirlwind for me. Like, when I started going out, started partying, I got so addicted to that life opposed to what got me to Maryland. And it just took a face of its own. It was hard to get out of. So I tell people all the time, like, that transition, if you don't have the right people in your corner, or if you just don't have that discipline, it's going to be tough, man, especially if you're not used to that. You know what I mean?
People don't just do things, right? Things happen for a reason. And so transition, getting to Maryland, being on the team, what was partying for you? What did that represent for you as an outlet, right? It was something that, like you said, you got addicted to. So it was fulfilling something for you. Yeah. What need was that meeting for you being out there?
So I'm be transparent. When I talk about these things, I try to be as transparent as possible because I want the viewers, I want whatever athlete or whatever parent to understand and comprehend everything that comes with this stuff. So for me, growing up, I used to watch music videos all the time. So I used to see all these NBA guys in these music videos with Jay-Z or with all these guys. So I'm like, well, you get to be a part of that. Like, you can hang with those guys. And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind hanging with those guys or being in that environment. So when I started going out, that's what I saw. I was living that life of what I saw in these music videos. For me, I was like, I made it. Like, I'm here. That's what it felt like. Now, without the money, I didn't have that kind of money, but I had that life. I tell people all the time, I was like an NBA player without the money. I tell people all the time like that. And I think going out, yes, it scratched that itch in regards to, like, man, this is super dope. Like, this is crazy. Everybody knows who I am. Like, I'm hanging out with all these people. Like, I can go do this. So, I tell people all the time, like, it went from that, but the next day I will be super depressed. I'll be in bed till like 3, 4 in the afternoon, and I just feel empty. I didn't know what depression was back then, but I would feel empty inside in regards to how I was feeling. And I just didn't, it was like, you know what I mean? It was just like, I tell people all the time that in order for me to go out and go to the club and stuff like that, I had to be intoxicated. Like, I couldn't walk in sober because I wasn't a big fan of being around a lot of people. So that was like bothersome because I'm always looking around, like, who's around me. Like, I was always on the lookout. And then I didn't want people to see me drink in the club. So I used to get twisted before I get to the club because I'm like, I don't want nobody to see me drinking in the club because I play basketball in Maryland and I don't want nobody to see me drinking. But I'm so twisted at that time that as soon as I get in the club, I don't care. So, you know what I mean? It's just a continuation. And then when it came to start playing basketball and things wasn't working out the way I wanted it to, or I was just putting so much pressure on myself because I was reading what people were saying about my play and how I was doing, and I wasn't meeting my own expectations. So, I used to go in my room. I would shut my door. My teammates used to get on me all the time because they said, man, you antisocial. You just hanging in your room. So I'd go in my room. I was drinking my room a little bit, and then maybe I'd go out downtown with some other guys other than my teammates to hang out and things like that. And so it became like more of an outlet. But it was just me trying to deal with something that I didn't know how to deal with.
So, University of Maryland, man, I'm struck, like, as a clinician, I'm hearing you talk about the anxiety of going out. And it sounds like you were struggling with some social anxiety, right? And then you had the drinking that gave you the courage and you went out. But then after you got back and you came down from kind of that high of going out, there was a depression that hit. So it sounds like you were struggling with some mental health stuff, but there was no label or a name to call it. So my curiosity is that social anxiety piece, was any of that there prior to college?
Honestly, I think it was. I was always one of those shy guys in the sense of, just a shy personality. I grew up, I think I was very self-conscious, because I was always taller than everyone else.
Right.
Then in 8th grade, I got all this acne on my face and people used to make fun of me. This is before the basketball success. So I used to get made fun of all the time, being too tall. I wasn't as good in basketball as I was later on. So I got made fun of because of that. So I was always kind of like self-conscious about, how I looked and things like that. So that was part of it. I think the basketball side of things really helped in the sense of, when you have success basketball-wise, people kind of look past the ugly feet or the acne and things like that. But I think for sure I had some anxiety, especially like I said, when I was in college and I'd go out, if I was uncomfortable unless I was intoxicated.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm just putting the pieces together from what you share. And so there was that social anxiety, awkwardness, and then even with basketball. But once you came into basketball, the level of acceptance and comfort that you found on the court, you were able to let go and be that dog on the court and let it out there, but then off the court. So then when you get to college, right, you got basketball again. Now you have the trappings of success from basketball, because when you go out, you're probably accepted and seen as like, yo, that guy and everything else. So you big time now as opposed to where you were before. And it sounds like you called it a high. It was almost a high, like the acceptance. They see me, they know me, they want me there. I'm the guy, I'm this, that, or whatever, but I'm not really that guy. I gotta drink to be that guy. And then when I'm that guy, I just have that crash afterwards.
It's crazy, man, because knowing what I know now, going through therapy, going through life, going through so much stuff, that's exactly what it was. I tell people all the time, and I kind of did a series on my Instagram page, and I kind of was just doing a self-therapy session for people that may be in my situation or kids that may go through or have gone through what I went through, in the sense of I was trying to fit in places that I didn't belong. I don't know if that makes sense. I was trying to fit in circles that I didn't belong. Not saying that I wasn't like good enough. It was just like, that just wasn't me. Right. You know what I mean? So I think that me drinking helped me let my guard down. Right. In the sense of, okay, I can hang with these people. I can be around these folks. When I retired from basketball, I kind of realized that a lot of people that I knew through basketball wasn't really my friend. Right. But I always seen like, oh, we all hoop. We all cool until like I see them all hanging out or they going places and I don't get a phone call or nobody hit me up about it. And I used to bother them like, hey, why y'all hit me up? Why y'all ain't, because maybe they didn't really mess with me like that. Maybe it was just like a basketball type thing, which is cool. Just because y'all played together or you was in this basketball fraternity doesn't mean y'all need to hang out together. I had to distinguish between the two, and that's what I matured into as I got older. But that's what I was doing when I was, drinking and things like that. I was, trying to fit in and do things to make me comfortable with being in these situations. Yeah.
And I think sports allows for some of that. You can have these two different selves, right? The guy that I am on the court and how I perform, and then the guy that's off the court. And the challenge is that a lot of athletes don't get to know their whole selves. They don't get to know that other guy because they're so focused on performance and everything else that they're doing this, that we meet and run into that other guy when the career is over, right? When the performance stops, and now you have to live with the other guy. and you're like, I don't even know who this brother is.
Hey, it's a real thing though. Yeah. Like I turned 40 last year, and when I turned 40, me and a friend of mine kind of went through the last 10 years of my life from 30 to 40 and kind of like was reviewing just what that looked like. And I'm like, man, 10 years, that all that happened in 10 years. So when I turned 40, it allowed me to open up another chapter in my life in regards to what do I want my next 40 to look like. So I had to close that chapter on my prior 40s. So meaning like I had to relearn myself again. You talking about relearning yourself at 40 years old? That's crazy. Yeah. But most of my life, I was a basketball player.
Yeah.
Or I played basketball
Right.
most of my life. So that's all who people know me as.
Right.
And honestly, sometimes when some people like say like, you know, some people that I know from when I was growing up or through basketball, that's all they probably want to, when they see me, they want to talk about.
Right.
But in my mind, which I don't mind, but that's like my past life. I don't really talk about it. I'm not one of those guys that brag about, oh man, I did this. I just, cause I'm like, I did that, that's over, whatever.
Yeah.
But I had to find out who was Travis really was. Meaning like I had to go back to like, when I was 8 years old. I had to go back that far. What did I really love? What did I really care about? So I had to relearn myself all over again, which is crazy because I'm like, man, like you do lose yourself in regards to when you become something and people start looking at you a certain way and then becomes your way of life. Yeah. You know, I played since I was a kid all the way until I was an adult. And that's what people know you as.
Yeah.
And
you talked about even like it being a blur. Like, Travis, you were disconnected from even your basketball experience. Like I don't even remember. I haven't even watched film. You were so lost as Travis and what was going on underneath and the social anxiety and the depression that you couldn't even connect those and be able to enjoy. Man, like there are kids that would give a couple fingers to have the basketball career, even just up to college that you did, and you weren't even able to put both sides of Travis together and be fully present and enjoy that. And that's tough. And that's part of why we have these conversations, right? Because kids will get lost in the sauce and the mix and the money and everything else. And a lot of athletes find themselves where you were at the end of your career. And it's like, dang, who the hell am I? And what did I just do for all these years?
I love the game, but I didn't like Kobe loved the game. You know what I mean? Like Kobe lived and breathed basketball. Me, like I want to be the best ever now. And which is, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I think my success came from the competitive nature of that I wanted to succeed. When I was younger, my older brothers never gave me anything in the sense of I'd be on the basketball court. Let me see the ball. Work for it. Play defense. Try to get it. Work for it. That was always the motto in regards to my brother. They never gave me anything. So I was like, all right. And then when I played with them, they would dog me so bad, talk trash. I was like, man, I can't keep losing like this. So then it became like, I need to beat you. Same with my uncle. My uncle was an all-time leading scorer in Missouri State. He talked so much trash. He was up in Kansas. So every summer he used to go there, he'd play us and he would talk, don't let him beat you. He was just here at my dad's funeral when we was talking and, you know, he still was talking trash. You know, he's older now, but that's how I grew up. So I think me wanting success more so came from I didn't want to lose. I didn't know college or NBA could be a possibility until people told me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And wanted to prove yourself, right? To your brothers, to your uncle at the McDonald's All-American game. You wanted to prove that you belong, right? And so then when you get to college and you're having success on the court and you go out, it's like, hey, I'm in the club. I belong.
Yeah.
But it was all an illusion, right? It was, oh, that's the guy. We want to be around him. We want to use him for access, the VIP, and everything else. But it was all an illusion. And you sitting there like, hey, this is real. But your mind's telling you, I know this isn't.
Yeah.
That's why I'm crashing afterwards. I know this isn't a real thing, but it feels real. So I'm addicted to that thing that feels real. And I'm deluding myself and believing that this is real. But like you said, friends weren't really friends. It wasn't really what it was supposed to be. Yeah. And it was like, dang. So a lot of athletes face that, and that's challenging. And it's that crisis moment. That's that resilience gap moment, right? I wasn't prepared for this. I don't even know what this is. I don't even have the words to fully describe what's happening. I'm not in touch with it, right? And I wasn't prepared for this. And it impacted your career. And so you get to the end of your time in college, and then you play pro 13 years overseas. Now, I can imagine that like a lot of guys, you wanted to go pro in the States. You wanted to play that NBA ball. So talk about that transition, man.
I think, so man, people hit me up all the time right now in regards to, man, I thought you was going to do a year, only 2 years in the college and then go to the league. I mean, as McDonald's All-Americans back when that came up, that was the thing. If you stay more than a year, 2 years, then something's wrong. So that was the pressure I put on myself as well. But also, that's things that college coaches were saying before I got to Maryland was, he only going to do a year or two. That's how talented I was. I think, you know, a lot of choices I made throughout, don't get me wrong, I had plenty of opportunities to play in the States. You know, I say that not in a sense of like cockiness, but as a sense of like, I was talented enough I had the tools to make it. The choices I made off the court and on the court affected those things in regards to whether partying too much or getting in trouble or not working in the gym and dedicate myself to the game. That deflected my chances. You know, I talked to GMs, I talked to press, and they said, man, we had high expectations for you, but you didn't live up to them. And I know why, but so it wasn't like I wasn't talented enough to make it. It's just I made choices that hindered me from having those opportunities. I still had those opportunities. I still worked my way to have those opportunities, worked out for a number of teams, but it laid on me going overseas, which is probably the best thing ever because of all the experiences that I had, the people I met, the people that I still know to this day, the family I created over there, and then just the experience. I mean, it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience in the culture and stuff.
You got to grow up when you play overseas, right?
Fast.
You're playing in a different country, different culture. It ain't home. So you have to grow up fast.
Fast, man. It's harder than the league.
Yeah. And so you had to develop some of those resiliencies overseas and figure it out. We can't be a knucklehead. We got to mature. We got to figure out how to make this successful overseas. And I mean, I can't even imagine, man, you disconnected from the language, family, the game, the rules are different. It was different, man.
It's a different world. The thing that kind of helped me a little bit was the summer of my freshman sophomore year, we went to France. We was in Europe, when I was in high school with those guys. And then when I was in college, we went to Croatia. And then we went to Italy. So I experienced overseas basketball. It's just different when you make it professional because you got to understand, if you don't perform right away, they got somebody in the stands at the next practice waiting to take your spot. You know what I mean? They move fast over there. Then they expecting you American, so your level should be
right.
Like,
you got to be better. You
shouldn't miss no shots. You should miss no shots. Yeah. Get every rebound. You Superman.
Yeah.
That's the mentality they have. So if you don't have that mentality, or some people can't transition. I'm talking about, I know NBA guys that went over there and they couldn't make that transition. It's a different world. You know what I mean? The food is different, the language. I mean, honestly, I loved it. I love that life because it's just, I love the difference of people and the culture and the lifestyle. And, I really enjoyed it, but it was definitely a hustle and you had to work. And it can be tricky. They may not pay you on time, or your family's over there, and your family's over here, and you're over there, and you can't talk to them like you want to talk to them. The time difference, and it's a lot of intangibles that come with that. It's not as sweet as people think it is.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And so you had that partying life that you had here. What did that look like when you got to overseas? Were you still partying?
Yeah, man. I still was partying, man. Partying over there lasts till about 7 a.m. over there. It's just, that's the difference. Yeah. But no, it's that was like another thing. Like, after games, that's what guys did on the team. Like, oh man, we won this game, let's go out. Or, we don't have practice the next day, let's go hang out for a little bit. Different countries look different ways. I played in some countries, it was like, man, it's crazy when you go out. It's wild. I played in Ukraine, and I was in a small city in Ukraine to where I played in Greece or I played in Turkey. And, so there's different type of partying in it, but it was fun though. It was all a different experience. But I say now in regards to the athletic side of things is that it was the same mentality I had in college that I took overseas in the sense of I always underachieved. So I would be playing in Greece, I remember, for example, and I'd be working out and the coaches looking like, or the players looking like, man, you're so talented. Why you not in the top? Or why you not, I get that all the time because they see the skill level, but it's not matching up to like where you at. Like, why is that? And so I say this, I know what it is now because of the reflection I had on things in the sense of, I think I was self-sabotaged a lot because making it to that level will cause so much attention that we're probably who knows how I would have handled that? All that success in regards to all that money. Now you in the league, it's more attention in college. I don't know if it was unintentionally done, but I think I never really wanted to. I played basketball because I loved the game. Everything else, I didn't love everything else that came with it. It tainted the fun. It took the fun out of the game for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all the work. All the stuff you had to do. Brother, you might not be here today if you had been in the NBA top draft pick. That joint would have been, we would have been reading news articles about
I tell people all the time, I was just at the Duke game, my boy coached for Boston College, and we was at dinner, and we were talking about NILs, and he said, Travis, if you was coming in high school, if you was going to college this day and age, you'd have got no less than $1 million. No less than $1 million. I said, I thank God I did not. And that's certain. I'm not even joking. I'm certain because I know how I was without the money. So imagine me having that much money, like with that, like to your point, I might never been here right now. I mean, that's the facts of it. And that's why I think God saved me he saved me from myself. So even if I want to make it to the league, I want to do this thing because that was success look like to everybody else, and everybody expects for me to do that. And that's another thing I was saying too was I think I was trying to please everybody else except for myself. Like me making it to the league, that'll make an achievement for me just because that's what I think this should be done, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that you made it out, right? A lot of guys, that club lifestyle, they get in trouble with girls on campus and everything else, that social anxiety, but there still was that I want that attention. So a lot of guys find up in bad situations and everything else. And so that you were able to kind of make it out of that lifestyle. Yeah, sometimes it's not for us to be in other situations.
I'm very okay with me not making it or me not being as successful as other people probably thought I was. Like, I'm very content. Like I retired on my own terms. I don't think about the what ifs. I went past that already. You know, even when I was playing pro, and I had another stint when I worked out for some more NBA teams, and I gave it my all at that time. I really sacrificed. I really dedicated myself to the game to have that chance and opportunity, and it just didn't work out. I was able to sleep after that. I was able to shut it down to that. I'm not like, I don't want to relive nothing. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I was able to shut that door. And I think that's where I'm good. Like I retired on my own terms and I was good with that.
No, and so again, we talk about the resilience gaps. It's that transition from public school to private school. It's that academic transition, staying on top of that stuff, right? It's that transition into college. You said you got to that first practice late and they're looking at you, what you're doing. It's that resilience gap of how do I handle being out, people knowing who I am, being in this public space and drinking. How do I navigate all this? And underneath what people didn't see is that social anxiety, that depression that was there, that I wasn't prepared for this. And I think, athletes aren't even prepared to have the conversations because the conversations aren't happening. Right? And so if there's more conversations about mental health, this is baked into this athletic ecosystem. Maybe Travis at 18 hears something about social anxiety is like, yo, yeah, I struggle with that. So now I can get some help for that. Now I might be able to have different career trajectory and outcomes. Everything ends up the way it's supposed to be. So Travis got to where he's supposed to be, right? So not saying living with the regrets, but for that next athlete coming up to understand what depression is, to understand what that's like going out and the kind of monster that it can feed, being known and people knowing your name and knowing who you are. That's why these conversations are important. We have to talk about mental health. We have to change the athletic ecosystem. We have to bake it in so that careers aren't lost, but more importantly, lives aren't lost. Because there's probably teammates that you had that you were alongside of that never got a handle of what's going on, got swept up in the system, and now they're not here with us anymore.
Absolutely.
And so that makes these even more important. But you've found Travis, and you established some success. So tell me about Think First Global.
So Think First Global, I always had a passion for helping the youth, especially like student athletes. It was always focused on the student athletes. I used to read articles and see things in the sense of athletes getting in trouble, whether it's in college, high school, pros, and they losing out on opportunities or they lose their profession because of the choices that they made. So I was like, man, if athletes thought first before they made their choices and they look at the bigger picture, look at everything, then I think they would probably look at life a little different. I think they'd handle things a little different. I think a lot of times people, instead of just looking at, okay, if I make this choice, this is going to be the reaction right now to that. Instead of like looking at, if I make this choice, what's going to be the reaction to this thing next week, next month, next year, years down the line? How's it going to affect me? How's it going to affect my family? How's it going to affect my teammates? How's it going to affect my community? So me going through life and making some poor choices myself and living life and going through things, I was able to see that firsthand and deal with that. All the repercussions that come with that stuff. And that's a whole nother mental aspect that you have to overcome and deal with because there's a snowball effect of your choices and how it continues and it can grow. So Think First came about in regards to, I kind of just wanted to help other athletes to really, think about their choices. Then it led to like, okay, let me start an organization while working with the youth. Because if I can catch them at a young age and build that foundation, whether they want to play sports or not, because they're going to do something. They want to be doctors. They're going to be lawyers. They're going to want to be teachers. They're going to want to do something. They're going to want to achieve something. But even with kids and youth now, you see it today, I grew up in Sudan. And that was another passion of mine, was to go back and help my community in regards to, you see these kids, these youth getting locked up, getting killed at a young age. I grew up in communities like that. I lost friends. I lost people I knew, whether it's the jail or drugs or them dying, So I was like, man, how can I help? So I think if I created an organization where I'm using basketball, because basketball teaches so many life skills. I learned so many life skills from basketball, but I didn't understand it until I became an adult. I said, if I can teach these kids at a younger age the foundation of it, let's talk about the fundamentals of basketball, which is a skill that even grown men still need to learn fundamentals because it's lacking these days. So let's start with fundamentals, because every kid should learn fundamentals if they want to play basketball. So, passing, shooting, rebounding, those type of fundamentals they're going to learn. I talk about the foundation of that because I have a book called The Crossover, A Bridge from the Court to Life, showing how the skills from basketball will be used in everyday life as tools of life in school or everyday life. So I talk about the foundation of basketball, but I'm showing kids how to use the same skills as tools of life. Passing, being positive, being a good person, being a good teammate, being a good classmate, like the good things, the results that comes out of being just a positive person, a positive human being. So I'm taking all these terminologies and I'm helping them be able to use these in whatever they want to go in life, whatever they want to utilize in life. And just my other biggest thing was to build confidence in kids. I think if you teach kid confidence at a young age, they can achieve anything in life. If you don't put barriers on them, like, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, or you're not working hard enough, or just like the little things, I think if they could have that confidence, they could build up within themselves. Like, for example, I did one of my first workshops. We had the boys and girls, and they're doing drills. Some of them never really played basketball. And, we doing ball handling drills. Everybody's right-handed. But when it came to dribbling that left hand, they was like, man, little girls crying. I can't do it. So
I tell you, high school boys are crying too.
Man, like, so
that left-handed layup has killed many.
So I'm like, all right, take your time. No, you got this. Just take your time. And, I see her, like, as she's kept practicing, kept going, you just see her face start to lighten up a little bit more because I'm doing it. And then she started getting a better handle on it. Throughout that workshop, through the next couple of days, she's doing things that she couldn't do before she got there. And she's like, look at me. So now at the end of that day, I have a conversation with them and say, hey, look, how many here did things that they never did before? And how hard was that? And it was hard. I mean, but how better did you become at it? How did you feel when you started working on your left hand and became easier after you really put the work in? And they said, oh, yeah. I said, the same thing applies to life in regards to school. Like, so if you got a math subject that's hard for you to do, the more you practice, the better you're going to become at it. And just like how you did with that left hand. So those are the examples I showed them right there firsthand. Like, this is how it connects. So that's what I really do with our program. And those are the type of things we do with my organization.
I think that's fantastic, man. And I don't even know if you hear it, that a lot of what little Travis needed growing up was to be able to be confident and find that confidence off the court. And here you are running the company where one of the things you're doing is helping those kids find that confidence, man. It's come full circle. So I think that's absolutely dope and fantastic, man. Well, I appreciate your time today. I think your story is really going to be huge for a lot of young men and women that are hearing this. And again, our goal is to change the athletic ecosystem, to make space for that mental health, to have these conversations, right? If these conversations are being had more consistently and more regularly, and people are having the language, you can like, hey, maybe I need to talk to somebody. If this conversation can show what it can be, just in this brief time, you kind of open it up and narrating your life, and me being able to say, hold on, 1 second. I think that might be social anxiety, brother. I think that might be depression, man. Like, if you could have had that light bulb come on earlier, and that's why we have to have these conversations now, because we want these light bulbs to come on for these young men and women earlier than at the end of their career or when they're sitting there thinking about taking their lives. I really appreciate your time coming on, man.
I appreciate the opportunity to just share my story and help however I can.
One of the most powerful parts of this conversation was Travis opening up about social anxiety. From the outside, people saw confidence, success, a McDonald's All-American, a Division I athlete living the dream. But internally, he was battling anxiety in social spaces, using alcohol to cope, and then waking up the next day feeling the weight of depression. That story is more common than most people realize. Social anxiety disorder affects 1 in 5 adults at some point in their lives. Among college students, nearly 60% report overwhelming anxiety in a given year. And athletes are not immune. In many ways, the performance, pressure, visibility, and constant evaluation can make it even harder to admit. What hit hardest today was the idea that Travis cannot fully remember parts of his own college career. Years that were supposed to be the highlight of his life feel blurred because he was surviving them instead of experiencing them. That is what happens when anxiety and disconnection go unaddressed. This episode reminds us that confidence on the outside does not always mean confidence on the inside. For athletes listening, if you feel anxious in social spaces, if you feel pressure to drink just to feel comfortable, if you feel disconnected from your own life, you are not broken and you are not alone. Before we conclude today's episode, some takeaways. Athletes, talent may get you opportunities. Life skills help you keep them. Emotional intelligence, financial literacy, and relationships are part of the athlete playbook. Most importantly, so is mental wellness. Parents, teach conversations about money, emotions, and responsibility early. Waiting until college is too late. Help athletes see sport as a platform, not their entire identity. Coaches, integrate real-life conversations into team culture. Leadership, relationships, responsibility, and mental wellness belong in the locker room. We will see you next time on Beyond the Game, where mental wellness competes. Make sure to follow CLSI on Instagram and TikTok at clsi.life. Share this episode. Engage with the movement. Together, we can close the resilience gap.